Have you ever felt so overwhelmed and on edge and anxious that you just can't catch your breath? Like you're gasping and you just can't seem to catch it, and then it just makes you panic more. I know I have, and I know many people have had that experience. And so today I want to teach you about mindfulness of breath. So I'm going to talk about its purpose and the benefits, and then give you an opportunity to practice. So come on in, let's get started. This video is one part of a multi-part series on mindfulness. And although each video can stand alone, I strongly encourage you watch each video so you'll be fully equipped and you can live your best life. So let's get going. My first practicum experience in grad school was at a prison. And on that first day of training, they said that they do not negotiate hostages. And in my naive mind, I just thought that was the craziest thing to say because nobody was going to be taken hostage. I mean, it was a requirement of my program that we had to have a classmate in the room with us whenever we were doing sessions with an offender. And we were in a fishbowl room where there were officers right outside that could come in if anything were to happen. So hostages, ain't nobody gonna be taken hostage. And I didn't get taken hostage, but there was one session that was extremely scary. And in the back of my mind, I kept replaying that statement. We don't negotiate hostages. So we're going to call this person Offender John. He comes into the room and it was like all the energy was sucked out of the room. He was seething. I mean, enraged. I really thought he was going to kill me and my classmate, and the officers were just going to be witnesses. But John comes in, he sits down, and he's just breathing heavy and hard. And I, in my quiet voice, say, okay, maybe we should work on some breathing. And he said, no. And I was like, well, I think it'd be really good. And he gave me a look. It was a serious look. And I said in a really shaky voice, okay, well, tell me what happened before you came in. And he began to tell me what one of the officers had done. It was no secret that some of the officers would razz and pick on some of the offenders who were coming to mental health, making them feel weak and small and insignificant. And for this particular offender and his childhood history, being put in that position of feeling small and insignificant just enraged him. So he came into the room in a trauma experience. As he sat there and tried to piece together what had happened before the session, and I could just see him getting more and more upset and just kind of folding in on himself, I asked him to breathe. And he took a deep breath. And then he said a little bit more, and I told him to breathe again. And he said a little bit more, and I told him to breathe again. And then we got to the place where I was just walking him through a breathing exercise. And the session ended up being one of the best sessions I've ever had as a therapist. And then the following week when I came back, as I walked into the facility, all the officers were like, what did you do to John? He's a completely different person. Like, he went to the library and he got books and he's teaching everybody how to do this meditation weirdness thing that you told him to do last week. I just taught him how to breathe. But here's the thing. When you learn how to breathe and the power of your breath, it's not just breathing. And today we're going to talk about the power of your breath. When I taught John how to do mindful breathing, I did more than just teach him how to breathe. I taught him how to tap into his power, into his wisdom, and into his ability to heal. And Genesis 2:7 helps us understand this better. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Our breath connects us with our Creator, and when He breathed into us, He gave each one of us part of Him. When we learn how to steward that breath, we can have unlimited potential to heal and to affect the world around us. Anytime the Bible discusses breath, It's always in context to God and the power to bring life and healing and wisdom and guidance. And research backs this up. Research shows that when we practice mindfulness breathing, we slow down our breathing rate to a breathing rate that's more effective and beneficial to our bodies. So it goes from 12 to 15 breaths a minute to 5 or 6 breaths a minute. And mindfulness breathing also helps us have clarity of thought so we can problem solve better. It helps us release any heaviness or tension we may be experiencing in the moment. And it also helps us experience reality as it is, preventing our past experiences from influencing what we're experiencing in the moment and adding to our pain and suffering. And there are health benefits to mindfulness breathing as well. Specifically, mindfulness practice has been shown to increase leptin, which will decrease our appetite. It's also been shown to reduce the intensity of anger, depression, and anxiety. So that helps us get back to a state of peace and calm. So in those moments when we feel like we want to lay hands on someone, and I don't mean in a healing way, if we take some deep breaths, it'll help us get clarity and problem solve the conflict without, hurting someone. And mindfulness breathing has also been shown to increase our metabolism and decrease the genetic pathways that can increase inflammation. There's more, yes, there's more. Mindfulness helps with our exercise stamina. One researcher followed a group that was planning a trip at Mount Everest, and part of their preparation for the journey was to practice mindful breathing every single day. And what they discovered was that they didn't have to use supplemental oxygen during their journey, and they use only 70% of their lung capacity, which is amazing. And one other thing, research has also shown that smoking cessation programs that use mindfulness as part of their intervention, those people involved in those programs tend to report more success with smoking cessation. I know. It just sounds too good to be true. Like, is this really true? Well, let's practice it and you tell me. Let's get going. If you're liking this information so far, push the like button so YouTube knows to, let other people know about our community here and we can grow and help people. If you are a beginner at mindful breathing, or if you've done it before but not very often, when you're first learning, I find that it's really helpful to place a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach. This way you can make sure that you're doing a diaphragmatic breathing. As you breathe in, your stomach should expand. I think of it like filling up a balloon, and that lets you know you're breathing from your diaphragm. Oftentimes when we're feeling overwhelmed or we're in fight or flight, we have a shallow breath and it comes from our lungs, and you see our chest rise and fall. So this way you can kind of track, okay, which is moving more, my stomach or my chest, okay? I'm gonna put a scene up so you have something relaxing to watch during the exercise. You can also look at a focal point in the room, or you can close your eyes, whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you're sitting down, put your feet flat on the floor and your back straight. Bring your attention to your breathing and observe it as if you're a curious scientist who has never encountered breathing before. Notice the air in your nostrils and that it goes down to the bottom of your lungs. Notice as it flows back out again. Notice the air moving in and out of your nostrils and how it's slightly warmer as it comes out and cooler as it goes in. Notice the subtle rise and fall of your shoulders. Notice the rise and fall of your stomach. Fix your attention on one of these areas. Your breath moving in and out. for the rise and fall of your stomach. Keep your attention on this spot, noticing the movement in and out. Whatever feelings, urges, or sensations arise, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, simply acknowledge them as if you're nodding to a person you see on the street, and gently bring your attention back to the in and out, the rise and the fall. The in and out, the rise and fall. When your mind wanders, take note of what distracted it and gently return your attention to the rise and the fall, the in and the out. In and out, rise and fall. And when your mind drifts, gently bring it back after you acknowledge what distracted it. Rise and fall. Cool and warm. Whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. There's no rush. Hopefully you feel more unburdened and feel more clarity of thought, right? Whatever your experience was down below, how easy or difficult it was to focus on your breath. Usually early on, it's pretty challenging. That gets easier as you practice. And I encourage you to practice often. The more you practice, the more familiar your body gets with a slower pace of breathing. And you find yourself breathing throughout the day with a slower pace. So it takes longer to get agitated or feel overwhelmed. And when that does happen, you recover from it a lot easier, even in seasons of struggle. It just goes a little easier. And I want you to remember that mindful breathing is about being still, being in the moment, not labeling it or judging it. It's about thought clarity. It's about healing with our breath and connecting to God. Breath is power. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you in future videos. And as always, take care of yourself, care for others, and have a blessed day.